Hello again, this is Victor Camba, and welcome to the Mortgage Marketplace, the show that helps Canadians get the financial freedom they deserve. Joined with me is my co-host, Erich Tratnik. Today, we're going to talk about a living inheritance. This is booming in Canada because it allows you to share your wealth with your children tax-free while you're still around to see them enjoy it. We believe this discussion will change the way you think about gifting, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for joining us, and hello, Erich.
Hello, Victor.
Before we begin, just to give our audience a quick blurb on who we are, Erich is a mortgage agent with over 40 years' experience as a professional engineer, with, might I add, exceptional problem-solving skills.
Thank you.
And I'm not just saying that because I also happen to be an engineer with 20 years experience in financial services. It's also because we leave no stone unturned in everything we do, including financing. And we're more than happy to share that with our audience.
Absolutely. As they say, once an engineer, always an engineer.
Exactly. So let's begin. Now, typically, an inheritance is considered as a gift after one passes away. So I'm sure everyone wants to know, what exactly is a living inheritance and how common is the practice?
Well, Victor, it's the opportunity for parents to help their children financially today while they can still see the fruits of their kindness. It's a very common practice. According to a recent article in the Globe and Mail, and let me quote, living inheritances, and they explain it as money given to children or grandchildren now, instead of passing it on solely through a will, is becoming increasingly common among aging Canadians and particularly baby boomers. And more specifically, it further reads, a CIBC poll shows more than half of Canadian parents have either given or plan to give a significant gift or early inheritance to their children or grandchildren.
That's incredible. So more than half. And that might come as a surprise to some of our listeners. But let's talk about the real motivation behind all this generosity. I mean, yes, it's understandable that parents want to take pleasure in seeing their kids and grandkids enjoy the funds, but there's a bigger driving force, and that is parents simply want to help them buy a house. They recognize that it's getting harder and harder for younger adults to break into the housing market. And for many, without their parents' financial help, well, let's face it, they simply can't do it.
Absolutely agree. Speaking recently with a good friend in real estate, he tells me that as many as 70% of his first-time home buyers have been priced out of the real estate market in the last 2 years. These buyers have literally hit a roadblock. As everyone knows, the real estate market has skyrocketed in recent times. In fact, the average price of a home in Toronto today is an astounding $1.3 million.
Wow, that sounds crazy. And Erich, even if they have a good paying job, a high income, good credit, et cetera, it's coming up with a down payment that's the biggest roadblock. And the longer they wait, the harder it gets to have the same opportunity for wealth creation as their parents had. So where are they going to get the money for a down payment? This is where a living inheritance comes into play. Now, there are various ways of doing this. For example, many people get the funds from cashing some of their RSPs, but you have to be really careful with that because even though gifting funds to family is tax-free, parents will have to pay tax and possibly even penalties on the RSP withdrawals. So this might not be the most tax-efficient way of doing this.
No, not at all.
Instead, consider converting equity in your home into tax-free cash. That way, you get to take advantage of higher home prices and lock in the gains of your home without having to sell it or pay taxes.
Yes, this is a far more viable solution. You see, many of my clients entered the market decades ago and saw their home values rise with time. However, in the last 24 months, these same people have seen their property build more wealth and equity than they had ever envisioned. These are unprecedented times. This is the perfect time for parents to help your kids do what you did 30 years ago. Take a small amount of your current equity and gift it to your children for the use as a down payment. Your kids can now take out a mortgage of their own, giving them the same opportunity of homeownership as you had before.
And there are various ways homeowners can take out equity, right? How about we give our listeners an example?
Sure. As you said, there are a few strategies available for homeowners. As qualified mortgage agents, we can help them determine which strategy is best for them. For example, in one strategy, on the equity takeout, neither you or your children need to make any monthly payments on the equity you are using, so it does not affect your own monthly cash flow or diminish your own retirement in any way.
That sounds great. And that's because the mortgage you're referring to is not repaid until the property is either sold or the borrower passes away. But the comment we often get is, in the end, the inheritance could be a lot less if anything is left over. What do we say about that?
Well, yes, this means that in 20, 30, 40 years when you pass away, your kids will get less inheritance at that time. But only because they've already received that part of their inheritance now and have been enjoying it for many years. And the best part, you get to see them enjoy their inheritance without diminishing your lifestyle. I myself help my son and daughter this way by taking out equity from my own property. My son now owns and operates a farm after I provided the down payment for the purchase. And my daughter, she owns 8 acres of land to build her forever home on. Yet I didn't sell my home or consider downsizing in order to free up the capital. For me, it's extremely satisfying to see my kids take their next step in life and give them that little boost. And my finances moving ahead are still all in order. Personally, it's my way of paying it forward. As I like to say, it's never crowded on the extra mile.
Thanks for sharing that story. And you're certainly not alone, Erich. Let me quickly share figures from a 2021 CIBC economics report titled Gifting for a Down Payment: Perspective. They estimate that over the past year, gifting amounted to just over $10 billion. That's $10 billion, accounting for 10% of total down payments in the market as a whole during that period. And specifically for the Greater Toronto Area, it said, the average gift is now estimated at more than $130,000 for first-time buyers, while mover-uppers enjoyed a gift of almost $200,000. So it's definitely a viable strategy, and given the market increases over the past few years, it's clearly here to stay.
With the recent trend of skyrocketing home prices, virtually every homeowner has now experienced exponential increase in their personal net worth. In a very short period of time, people are in the unique position of having accidental wealth coming out of an unlikely source, their own home. You now have newfound wealth that you never planned for. And from that, the question, could this change my life? The answer is promising. For many of you who were in good financial shape prior to this market increase, you are now looking at unexpected equity that could be parted with and not affect your long-term financial health.
Thanks for the recap, and thank you for this discussion. It really has shed some light on what a living inheritance is. The key takeaway is that by using the equity in your home, you can share some of that tax-free wealth while you're still around to see them enjoy it. And as Erich mentioned, if you would like to learn more or to help determine which strategy is right for you, feel free to connect with either of us. Our contact details are in the summary and show notes.
And Victor, we've really only covered the basics. I invite you, our listeners, to subscribe to our podcast for more engaging discussions.
That's great. Thanks, Erich.
Thank you.
And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. You've been listening to The Mortgage Marketplace with your hosts, Victor Camba and Erich Tratnik. Remember, real wealth is the ability to fully experience life. Until next time, take care.